Hi, my name is Kathleen Shaw, and today I'm going to be presenting on the things that I found as I went through and looked into the idea of dress codes being more popular in institutions of higher education. So, as I was researching this topic, I thought, what would it be like to be at a place like Delaware Tech that previously hasn't had a mandated or very clear dress code policy? What would it be like to shift to having some sort of mandated dress code in place? That might seem incredibly far fetched right now, but it actually is something that's becoming more popular in places like technical schools. That's one of the things I found out in my research, that a lot of places that have a focus on trying to get students into a particular field, trying to get students employed, more and more are mandating dress codes to sort of facilitate professional dress attire. So I was thinking about how that would be strange for students who haven't previously had a dress code to be suddenly shifted into having certain expectations about how to dress in a classroom setting. In terms of dress codes being debated, they have had a lot of protesting going on at the K through 12 level because there are lots of K through 12 institutions that do have dress codes in place. But I was curious more about dress code policies in institutions of higher learning and colleges, community colleges, and universities. As you can see, there have been protests from and pushback from many high school students, particularly in claiming that dress codes are sexist or racist or transphobic. And you can see here that this is an example of students who are protesting a dress code at their high school. I'm curious how that might translate to colleges and whether those same terms would apply, those same issues would apply. The questions I asked myself first, the first step was to ask myself if there really were lots of dress codes in place in most colleges, because I wanted to get an idea of whether or not this actually was an issue worth investigating. And it turns out it was. More and more schools, particular subsets of schools also, are the ones that tend to have dress codes in colleges. So I thought that that was an interesting question to ask. Are these dress codes actually enforced? I wanted to know this because I wasn't sure if maybe there might be a dress code on the books, but people weren't actually expecting students or weren't stringently enforcing that among students. And then the last thing I wanted to know about the reasons behind having a dress code in college. What would lead a college to decide that they should put a dress code in place? Because I thought that that would be kind of the most interesting thing to investigate in my paper. So basically, I looked at a couple different sources. The academic source I found was Black Colleges React to Low Point in Fashion, that was talking about the tendency of HBCUs to have dress code policies. I also looked for Dress for Future Success, Community College Dress Codes by the Community College Review. And that one looked into community colleges that were deciding to impose dress codes for the sake of creating a professional student body. What I learned was that the type of schools that have dress codes are usually specific types of schools. So looking across the board at all the literature, community colleges, HBCUs, and also many business schools. Those are the religious schools were another one that I saw as I was sifting through all of the resources that are out there. So typically there are specific types of schools that sort of gravitate towards dress codes. I couldn't find a lot of literature on students' reactions to dress codes in higher education. So I found lots that were why students protested in high schools. So I might have to include a little bit about the problems that people are seeing in K through 12 and sort of apply that to what might happen, because dress codes are just more widespread in K through 12 right now than they are in institutions of higher education. So I imagine if more institutions did adopt these, more protests might happen, more pushback might happen. But at the moment, since it's more located in K through 12, I might have to look at the reasons that people in K through 12 object and see if those would apply to college students. So as more and more institutions consider adopting these dress codes, I think that's why it's important to understand what the impacts, the benefits, and the disadvantages are before these things are implemented. So have a great day. And if you have any questions, you can email me at kshawtin@dtcc.edu.